What's up? This is Dan Fradenburgh for FIGGERRIDOUT.com. I'm here with my old coworker, Todd Jones. I am so stoked right now because I was just sitting there like we randomly ran into each other today, and this is so important for my body of work, and Todd doesn't even realize it. The big one I want to talk to you about is when I first started doing those sizzle reels. So back then, I was just a tech guy, boring as hell, right?
No, Dan, you were never boring, ever.
Okay, I felt boring.
Not a word I would use to describe you.
That's funny. That's funny. But so I was also just learning about business expenses back then and how to really leverage them and understanding what it meant to be using stuff for pre-tax dollars. Mm-hmm. So, but what was going through your head back then when I was coming with these celebrity videos?
Yeah, dude, having worked with you for 6 years as our tech guy at work, when you started doing them, I was just like, what in the hell is this guy doing? What is, like, I didn't know what your angle was. I didn't know what you were trying to accomplish, you know? So it was just pretty weird.
Right. Would you believe me if I said I didn't either?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's basically what all my sizzle reel things, all of those celebrities, what I did is I was going, okay, what do I know about this person? What do I guess about their personality? You know, what's the most outlandish thing that I can get them to do? Mm-hmm. Where people, and then I edit it together so it looks like it was all on purpose. Okay, like it was all planned out when none of it was, right? And then people are just going like, okay, so then if this was not planned out, Dan must know these people really well. And it's like, no, I don't. There's one person in the entire set of sizzle reels who actually knows me. And that's why Gilbert Gottfried says he doesn't know who I am. It's because he doesn't.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell the truth. I didn't want to lie. It's
all
all
about
about what's real.
I've always liked Gilbert. I always thought he was pretty fun.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I tend to I enjoy people who have a sarcastic look at a lot of things. It's always been one of my favorite things.
A year ago, it could have gone totally wrong as far as my plan goes. You know, like it could have had, like, there might have been some sort of X factor or something that I wasn't aware of. And then people just started watching my stuff as it was going. And I'm talking about the exact topics that were getting people canceled. People's channels were getting shut down over the topics that I'm talking about. And what I was trying to figure out from the algorithm perspective was like, okay, so is it automated or not? Is it like when stuff's getting flagged for fact checkers, is it automated or not? Is it the topic that's flagged? Is it the words that people use? Or, you know, are there actual facts or
right?
So
yeah. So, I don't know if it's, I always envisioned it being a combination of humans and algorithm, because there's so much content nowadays. Humans cannot possibly sift through every word of every video that you've ever made.
Right. Did you adopt changing the playback speed? I remember I got that from Mike. Did you start using the speed controls on videos when you're watching stuff online?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Now I exclusively use 2 times for everybody.
If it's compelling and there's something I don't want to miss, then I'll play it at normal speed. If I'm trying to get to those points, then yes, I will speed it up.
Okay. So you mean skipping around, or do you mean actually change to 2 times playback?
I will go like usually 1.5 is 2 times is really fast unless the person's a slow talker. But you know, I'll go about 1.5. And then if I hear you hitting on something that I'm particularly interested in and I want to get it, then I'll go back to normal speed so I can make sure I get it.
Right. And so you're, I can tell the audience, you know, Todd is definitely above average intelligence, if you can't figure that out already.
Okay? I haven't heard that in a while. I appreciate that.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, just because of the nature of of my body of work, it forces me to make super duper meta comments about anything that's going on. Well, I was talking about the transcription of the 366 videos on 366 topics that were released in 366 days. And
that all, Dan, that's all you could do. Come on.
Oh yeah, I'm such a slacker. Well, basically I was going like, okay, no human is likely to consume even a big part of it. just because like how do you fit that in your day? And basically every single topic is tricky or cerebral, or a lot of them are ones where, as I mentioned with my one of my avatars, I kicked that can down the road as far as learning that topic for quite some time.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many things you have to make a decision. Is like, am I going to bother to learn this or not? I don't know, maybe some people get hung up on the idea of like, I'm not even sure if I'll succeed, even if I do make that attempt. And that's pretty tough.
Sure
but hanging out with the world's fastest reader for Figure It Out, it basically pushed me to start doing the 2 times speed all the time. And one of the things like I'm even taking like legal, like law school courses online at 2 times speed. And one of the benefits I'm finding from that is that if it's important enough to take the time in your day to watch that video, if you're watching it at 2 times speed, then you're demonstrating that it's worth double as much. So you're basically giving it double the attention. So like while you're watching it at 2 times speed, it's not like normal where like, you know, you can pause it for a second, deal with whatever, you know, at 2 times speed, you're telling people to fuck off.
So because I know you're a speed reader also, do you find that that's the equivalent of speed reading?
It's slower. It's still slower. And that's one of the tricks. If you do have the captions on the video as well, that really helps. But yeah, even at 2 times speed, it's still slower. I should mention to the audience that I remember your post-secondary was in journalism.
Right.
And so for me, that was so important.
It's interesting because I never thought about it in journalistic terms, but now that you bring it up, one of the things I enjoy about what it is that we do is that we get to take a lot of different parts and bring them together to create a whole thing. And that's really what journalism was too. If you're just gathering facts, you're talking to people, and then you bring your notebook filled with all these pieces, and then you get to create the narrative. You know, hopefully journalistic integrity plays a part in that. You're going to report the story as you actually saw it. But one of the things that we all did was, and they still do it, is I need to take these pieces and make it into a story. And you do some shaping along the way. You know, you just do. Otherwise, it's not going to flow from bit to bit, you know, that kind of thing. But dude, I never thought about it like that before, but I think you're right. I love taking pieces and making them into a whole thing.
One of the things that's really amazing about putting out that much content, as I did last year, is just getting to know myself that much better. You know, getting it to the point where like so much less of the things I think about myself are up for debate anymore. It's because like all of it already got through YouTube's and Facebook's filters.
Yeah.
So, you know, like one of the things that was hitting me, especially with all the talk of Russia, you know, interfering digitally and, you know, the Chinese doing the same. It's like, well, what if I'm getting a cached version of Wikipedia or whatever? What if there is a digital sandbox that I'm in where, you know, like I just can't get out of it? Like what if? And I'm one of the few people who can actually test it to find out if I am or not. Because, you know, like I post something on Facebook and I know for a fact it's being read on 5 continents. So it's like, so I'm saying like, okay, so guys, you don't have an election going on. What are you hearing about this?
Yeah, dude, that is interesting.
Right? So
it just blew my mind a little bit with that.
Well, I went through SARS, so you know, it was really interesting to see and say like, okay, so what are you guys seeing? Because like I gotta tell you, America is the only country that said that it'd disappear at the election.
Yeah,
you know,
we were all very optimistic at that point, you know.
Yeah.
And then it became apparent pretty quickly that that wasn't going to be the case, you know.
Right. Well, so one big part of my work, because like, for example, I had to go through, like, I was putting myself in the situation of like, what if I was estranged from like my grandchildren or something like that. And they wanted to know, you know, what was great grandpa Dan's or whatever I am, what is his take on this? And so like I did videos on like all the political stances, like what does it mean to be conservative? What does it mean to be libertarian? What does it mean to be liberal? And doing all of them without being a jerk. Because the thing is, like, if I'm going to give them a straight answer, you know, like saying it's like, oh, well, these guys are just idiots, you know, that's not going to get you very far at all. Right. And so I tried to have a kindness in how I was talking about it. And one of the big things that has come out in my body of work is that I'm aware of the exact reason why liberals and conservatives can't even talk anymore. And you being in journalism, that's one of the things I want to talk to you about in particular. So liberals versus conservatives, what was 2020 like compared to, you know, like the 90s or something like that?
Yeah. You know, it's a good question, man. All I can really speak to is what I have been told is how this has happened. That's like really all I can speak about.
Okay, well, then even if you just go to the double O's, it's just like anytime that you were really, you know, you were paying attention, you knew the environment, you knew how these guys were talking to each other. But like now it's just like shifted so that, you know, everybody's in an echo chamber. You know, if you're conservative, you're only hearing conservative views. And if you're liberal, you're only hearing liberal views. And the only thing you ever hear about the other side is those guys are freaking nuts.
Yeah, that really is the end of it. That in every discussion is that person's an idiot. That's what it is.
Yeah, an idiot or crazy. And that's part of the reason for my work is because like I think I proved pretty quickly that I'm neither.
Yeah. You know, dude, I think part of it is that deep down we feel that there's something really great at stake.
Yeah.
And
and there's something wrong. We should be able to talk to, like, how often person to person do you meet somebody where it's just like, I can't associate with you at all? That doesn't happen very often, I think, but like on TV, it's all you see.
Yeah.
You know, it's the people who can't get along, you know, it's the extremes because it's more exciting and it's selling more.
If you consider now, I mean, we've all heard it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this isn't true. The whole cancel culture thing. I need to only speak with people who think the same thing that I do. Otherwise, I'm putting myself at risk.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways. And why is that funny?
It's funny because I was thinking if only somebody had 366 videos that they released over the course of 366 days, which included most of the topics that will get you canceled, okay? And some of the actions that are certain to get you canceled. I racially profiled a judge and uploaded it to YouTube, okay? You know what happened? Nothing at all.
What about this? What about if I got you canceled, and I'm, you know, this isn't anything disparaging against you, you know, I love you. If I get you canceled, nobody cares. You're just Dan Fradenburgh. But if I can get, I don't know, AOC or some high level influencer or whatever canceled.
The president of the United States of America had his Twitter account shut off. He was a great example. That is,
if we can pull that off, dude, now I've got so much clout, so much juice for myself.
Right.
That now there's like there's value in that.
Right. Socrates, he hated writing. Did you hear that?
I did not know that he.
He hated writing, and the reason is because it enabled fakers. You know, basically, you could take the words of somebody who's really, really smart, you could memorize them and then say them, and then suddenly everyone's like, wow, he's smart.
And that happens a lot. I think that happens a lot.
It does. It does. And I don't know. I've been reading some philosophers recently about how they say that, you know, the world is a much worse place because of how professionals protect their secret itty bitty knowledge that only they know.
Starting to hear like people who I trust, I've come across recently, they're talking about don't protect your knowledge. Part of being a professional and part of doing what you do is sharing with other people who are maybe junior to you. You know, that's actually, it's an important thing that we should be doing.
Right, right. Well, yeah, that's exactly what I've been finding is that my strategy now for marketing any of my services, regardless of what they are, is I'm going to show you in the shortest amount of time possible that this is real, actual work. There is no shortcut. Okay. And either I'm going to end up doing it, or you're going to be ending up doing it, or you're going to be paying somebody who doesn't understand what I just told you, you know, to do it. So you might as well just pay me to do it.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, that's my marketing thing. Say, hey, see this? This is really complicated. Hey, do you notice how you just tuned out because it was so freaking boring?
Yeah.
That's why you should pay me to do it. It's because it sucks. I know it sucks. You know it sucks. It'll just go away.
Yeah, there wasn't an insanely popular TV show called Dirty Jobs for no reason.
Well, yeah, right.
Somebody's got to do it, right?
Some of the things that I associate with Gen X is the last generation where you could cuff your kids. I mean, like you could get cuffed. It's like, or at least among white people, because the thing is, like, you know, in Latino or Asian cultures, you know, like it's perfectly acceptable to hit your kids. In Taiwan, they even encourage teachers to hit kids, and it was actually really a bad situation because of course Westerners wouldn't want to do it. And the Taiwanese, if you understood the Mandarin, you know, the equivalent was like, hey, look at this fucking idiot who will actually hit the kids. Okay. Right. Because it was really, if you could get a teacher to actually hit kids, that was very, very valuable, because most of them wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, for the obvious reason, because you shouldn't be like, as far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't actually be hitting kids, just because that actually shows that the teacher is revealing their own inadequacies. You know, it's like, oh shit, I can't make this interesting enough, or okay, I guess I don't understand it well enough, and this kid's getting to the limit, and that's why I can't explain it. You know, that's why they're tuning out or whatever. And instead of dealing with that, they just whack the kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what I think of Gen Xers is, you know, like they got that from, you know, like unlike a millennial where like their parents were involved in that transition to, hey, maybe we shouldn't be hitting our kids. Your parents and your grandparents, you know, that was totally freaking normal. And I'd say that there was the last generation that was like that. So you agree about that, but I think there's a work ethic that comes with it. So what do you take as being really indicative of a Gen Xer's personality compared to millennial or a Zoomer?
Love that question. You are the first person ever to ask me anything about, hey, what was it like to be a Gen Xer? Yeah. Which I'll just take as meaning that I'm old now, and that's interesting.
You're not as old as the boomers. Never have been.
Yeah. But, you know, because I've got kids, as you know, and, you know, my daughter's 24, my son's 20, they're older now.
Yeah. But they're still Zoomers technically, right?
Yeah. I feel like the Gen Xers, and we were really fortunate in that it was there was no internet. What the hell is the internet? I mean, there was, but we didn't know it yet, right?
Right.
Dude, we had freedoms that I think no generation after us has had, where in the 80s, at least in the US, the economy was really good. Big optimism about everything. And if you watch movies or listen to music or things like that from the 80s, there's always that just that went away. That went away after we grew into our adulthood, you know?
Right. I'm just sitting here laughing my ass off because I remember when I, like, back in the 80s, I was like, one thing I'd take from the generation that was older than me, you know, like the Gen Xers, you know, and compared to, you know, my parents who were boomers, one thing that hit me was I'd look at movies like Footloose. And I compare that to, you know, the civil rights movements of the 60s or something like that. And even very young, I was going like, you guys are just inventing problems. It's like, you can't fucking dance. You know, okay, so all right, so as long as that one
And we
lands,
still not do that as a society. I mean, I know there are great thinkers out there who say it doesn't matter how great your life might be, the human nature is to find problems, to create problems. Otherwise, what do you have to do?
when it first got legalized here in 2018, I noticed that people would come out and talk about how grass gives them anxiety.
Hmm.
And usually, as I'm sure you're aware, like in our generation, to talk about anything like mental illness, including anxiety, it was a taboo. You try not to talk about it at all. But because of grass, people started talking about their anxiety openly, you know, having the confidence of like, I'm not nuts, it's just the weed.
Right.
You know, and I thought that was so interesting.
And there's also a gender bias, I guess you would call it, regarding talking about issues that you may be having with anxiety and stuff, because men are not supposed to talk about it.
Right.
You jam it down. Dan Connor on Roseanne used to say, you take it, you push it down, and you put food on top of it. That's what Dan Connor used to say.
Nice.
But you know, it's always been considered a sign of weakness and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of men self-medicate.
Right. Yeah. And that was basically it. It's you know, we weren't given the latitude as males to feel horrible about what we were doing, you know.
Right.
And so how guarded do you think I was when I was working with you? Because
I think you were guarded, and I think it was because, you know, at that point you had risk. There was risk involved with being open. There's always risk involved with being open, but you're being more open now because there's less to lose.
Right. Well, I think part of it is because even if somebody doesn't know about my body of work, it's sitting there in my back pocket, and it's on my mind all the time. And so I'm like, before, I'd be careful just because I knew that if there was a microphone around or a camera around, I knew that it might be recording at any given time.
When I first started working with you, you were still in Taiwan.
Right.
You know, you had specific concerns because of that.
Canada has like 5 real federal political parties. And does anybody really say that the 2-party system does America any favors?
Yeah, I would say, well, I'm not going to comment on that, but.
Right, exactly. And that's the nice thing. I already did.
Yeah, it's a fair question, man, for sure.
Yeah, it's well, because basically, like what I was mentioning before the call, before I started recording, that one problem of government is how they just say shit because somebody will buy it. And a great example would be like the vaccine. You know, where it's like, we did really well this year, or like a mayor of Tampa saying, hey, you know, because of our hard work here in the mayor's office, you know, we ended up bringing the championship. It's like, who's gonna buy that?
Yeah.
But they say it anyway. They just take credit for everything that happened during that time that was positive, and then all that they have to do is say, but you got to vote for us, or else those guys will get in power and they'll really fuck you up.
Yeah, you know? Wreck that thing. Absolutely. That's the way that they portray it. And, you know, I don't know, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, that government, it's Ronald Reaganism, you know, government's not the solution to the problem. Government is the problem. But they don't want you to know that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, one thing that I like to think of, you know, like just the same way as we did at our last company, is I like to think of elections as being like, you know, review time. Right? It's just like, so okay, yeah. So how did you do last year? How did you do for your KPIs?
Dude, that's funny.
Right. And that's the reckoning. It's like, okay, if you did a good enough job, then, you know, we'll continue your contract. And if you did a very bad job, then I'm afraid you're going to have to work elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know, I like looking at the politics that way, because basically, like, I saw all these different things popping up, and I'm going like, okay, this is only popping up, like, this is only news because it's an election year, and they don't want anybody looking back and saying, so what exactly did we accomplish?
Yeah.
You know, how have things been going? All
And
that.
even when people try to get other people to look back and say, but look, this is what actually happened. A lot of
Then you
people
get labeled as a racist or a
they don't want to
whatever,
hear
because
it.
you're taking spotlight away from whatever.
They don't want to hear it, man.
Yeah, the issue du jour.
Fascinating. How much of this, you were talking about going through a review at work or whatever, you strike me, and maybe I always knew this, maybe I didn't. You love the game inside the game.
No, basically, no. I needed what I did, like, basically from the day that I was going on full time, I already had a 5-year plan. Okay. And it's not like, basically the reason why because like you recall, I was with funnelfixing.com, and then I ended up taking that position where I ended up being CTO. One of the biggest things that jumped out right off the bat is, hey, here's a company that does 7 figures and they don't have a CTO. So this is a chance for me to check that box. Okay. And so that's why I was going like, okay, like constantly, whenever I was pushing myself beyond the limits of comfort, the only thing in my head is like, if I check that box, whatever happens after that is going to be a lot easier. You know, and so that's what was going through. So like, I don't think I was ever cutthroat in that way, but I definitely was going like, okay, the reason why I'm being so meticulous is because I have to get that position. And because I knew that would be the thing that would jump me.
Yeah, that's interesting, man, because you had said something earlier about being viewed as being manipulative at work. And, you know, I never have a 5-year plan. I don't like that. I don't like that because I want to go where I find interest. And if it doesn't fit inside my 5-year plan, then, or the plan that I don't have, right? I'm going to go where I find interest. Right. So you being viewed as manipulative is to a person with no plan being manipulative. But on your end, a guy with a 5-year plan, you're like, dude, I'm just working my plan over here. Not necessarily bad. Like I used to read Robert Kiyosaki a lot, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he always talked about the system is set up for you to succeed. And I think that that's going to the things that you just mentioned. It's like, yes, the movers and the shakers and the doers and the people that are generating a lot of income, the system is set up to help those people because the system wants you to succeed. At least it used to. I don't know about anymore, but it's not set up for me because I'm a salary earner and who gives a shit about me? I'm not producing anything.
You have no representation.
Yeah.
Okay. Until there's a peasant revolt, there's no representation. And that's what I've been figuring out with my body of work, is because the government as it stands was inherited from monarchies, which at its very essence is a shakedown. Okay, it's turning around to everybody and saying, hey, I'm going to have more military strength than anybody. And as a result, everybody around is going to give me 10% of everything.
Yeah.
You know, they ever make, you know, and just make sure that the farmers keep putting out the food and everybody else keeps working, you know, and you know, farmers feel like they're taken care of. You know, that's basically it. And anybody who starts to become a wise guy or gain more power, we're going to screw them up and kneecap. Yeah. Okay, so that was what we ended up inheriting as a system. Now it's representational. But the question that I have is, what could the government possibly do where they're actually worth 30% of everything we ever make?
Yeah,
because I don't see.
Dude, and that's really interesting, because another thing, I can't remember who I heard talk about this once. It makes total sense. The government produces nothing.
Yes.
It absolutely produces nothing. So in order to do things, whether it's, you know, fix your roads or build parks or whatever, it needs to take.
Yeah.
It needs to take from the people that are out there making, you know, making money, taxes, right?
Right.
And the only people that they can take taxes from are the middle class.
Right. Because you can't tax wealth.
Right. So.
Because it's illiquid.
Right.
But the way the law is actually created is created by lawsuits and appeals. And so basically people have the problem and then they bring it to the judge. And if you view it from a monarch's perspective of like, okay, I'm going to be paying with the tax dollars for this farce of judgments. Like, okay, this asshole has a problem with this asshole. I don't give a fuck about either one of them as long as they pay their taxes, but I'm supposed to justify my existence. And part of it is settling disputes like this, where this person's cow had a disease and that person's pigs, he should give him 2 pigs back in return or some bullshit. I don't want to deal with this. Get a fucking judge in here to take care of it, right? And then we have a commonwealth system that's based on all the judgments of those, Band-Aid solutions. So the thing that's really interesting is that we've got an entire government system built by whiners for whiners. And I'm not calling millennials the whiners here. I'm talking about the super rich at the absolute top. Basically, the reason why you have to have an accountant is because the tax forms are too complicated. Okay. Right. That's the reason why. And why are the tax forms complicated? It's because they're justifying the fact that they're taking 1 out of 3 out of all your fucking dollars for your entire fucking life.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when somebody turns around and say, motherfucker, you're taking 1 out of every $3 from my, this is a shakedown. This is bullshit. Oh, they say, it's like, oh, what is it that you do? And why aren't you making enough? Oh, we can give you a break on your taxes so you'll shut the fuck up. And I was like, oh, okay. And then when some asshole like me comes along and say, this is bullshit, this is a fucking shakedown, and the only reason why so many people are keeping quiet about it is because you motherfuckers are giving them a deal. Well, when you're a working stiff and you're not involved in any of that shit, you get 0 of the advantages of that.
No deals.
And you get fucked twice as hard.
Yeah, no deals for you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's that. When I take the temperature of the situation right now, that's pretty much where it comes up in my head. So,
and again, that's why people like me and you and, other people, entrepreneurs, they want to play in that space because they know there's advantages and breaks and opportunity. I mean, a lot of opportunity exists up there too,
Right. From the Buddhist perspective, it's like causing unnecessary suffering. That's a big fat no-no. So look, when I emptied like half a can of bug spray on that spider the size of my fucking hand back in Taiwan, and it was limping on its back legs.
I remember the day that happened, dude.
Oh man, that was nuts. I stepped on it. I could feel the crunch through my shoe. Okay. And the only reason I did it is because you can't have unnecessary suffering. It's better to end it. At least if the thing knows and accepts that, So.
Yeah, I think only a twisted individual would enjoy making anybody or anything suffer more.
But I think, well in the future, if I do have any reputation at all, I think that's what I'll be remembered for. And that also frees me up to do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's because that kind of legacy, that intellectual legacy, that's already in the bank, So.
Yeah. Keep getting your stuff transcribed too.
Yeah, well, it's already transcribed.
Volumes of Dan. That's awesome. Only you.
Yeah.
You're always doing stuff that I could just say, you know what? Dan's the only guy I know that would do that.
Well, but I think you've been around me long enough to see how it works with like what actually motivates me to do this weird shit. It's like, if I can do something where it's a manageable amount of effort and it's just an epic result, then I'm all in.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thanks for being here today. You can connect with Todd. Then you can see him eat like 100 fillet of fish sandwiches and like hot wings. And you did the cinnamon challenge, didn't you?
Did not do the cinnamon challenge. No.
Well, there was wasabi. There was a wasabi one or something.
We did.
Did you do lines of wasabi or something? No, that was Jackass.
Yeah, no, I would never do that. Yeah. I would never do that. My stuff's pretty tame.
Anyway, you should definitely do that. And then Todd, he also does marketing just like me. I got to get you more in the fold into funnelfixing.com, my friend. So, but anyway, you can also find him on LinkedIn, Todd Jones. There's nobody else named Todd Jones.